Welcome in, everybody, to the RideAlong Sports Live Show. I'm your host, Zach Ainsworth. We got Brandon over there keeping everything running, keeping everything working smoothly on the audio and video ends, keeping it running. And we're back after a long hiatus. It feels like, even though it's just been a couple of weeks, we've had a lot of stuff going on, and we weren't able to do an episode last week. And we weren't able to do one Tuesday, but we're here Thursday, August the 3rd, 2023. And Brandon, football is back.
Football is back.
Tonight we have the Hall of Fame game in the NFL preseason between the Browns and the Jets, everybody's favorite matchup, which will feature two third-string quarterbacks playing each other. So, yeah, it's going to be a great time. But, hey, we can't complain. Football is back.
You know that feeling? So we have football August through February, right?
That's right. Unless you watch, like, the XFL or something.
Yeah, United States Football League, USFL.
Yeah.
But, you know, you get through February, you get through the Super Bowl, and then there's March, April, May, and then you get to the summer, and you just can't wait for it.
Yeah.
You just can't wait for it. Of course, you have the NFL draft.
Yeah, you start doing your fantasy drafts after the summer.
Draft.
You start getting pumped up. You see all these reports coming out from NFL camps, and summer workouts for college teams.
Yep.
You know, you have the spring game and spring practices, and it all leads up to one beautiful, beautiful Saturday, if we want to talk about college football. Beautiful, not week 1, week 0. Your team might not play on week 0, but I can tell you, I'll be watching football on week 0. One beautiful moment in time. There's a packed stadium. Fans are roaring. You hear the broadcasters. They bring you in. They tell you what happened last year, what's going to happen this year. And then they do a coin toss, and it all leads up to an opening kickoff. And I don't know about you. I watch the opening kickoff every year. I do of my team as well, but I'm talking the first kickoff of the new year. I don't care if it's UTSA versus Tulane, and it's the opening kickoff. When you watch that and you see toe meet leather, it's like all is right in the world again. And if you're a real fan, you know what I'm talking about. When you hear that crowd roar and the ball gets kicked away and everything feels right. But we're glad you're joining us tonight, whether you're on the live feed watching us here on YouTube, whether you're listening after the fact on Spotify or Apple Podcast, or you're watching YouTube, or if you're seeing this on TikTok, if this makes a cut, which I doubt it will. But if you are, we're glad you're joining us. Again, this is Zach Ainsworth. This is Brandon over here, and we're going to bring you all a great show tonight. It's kind of a, how do we want to put it, a lounge episode, more of a lazy episode. We don't have a lot of structure tonight. We're just going to be guys talking football. Since football's back, we felt like just kicking back and talking about some things going on in the world of football. Not necessarily, bringing you the breaking news, but just sitting around talking like you do with your buds. So that's kind of what you're listening to tonight or today or wherever you are. We don't care if you're riding a train, if you're riding a car, if you're riding a bulldozer, you're riding a bicycle. We want to come alongside and ride with you and keep you up to date with everything college football, and especially in the SEC. Brandon, I hate to bring this up because I don't even like talking about it.
Oh.
But college football is in a weird state right now. Mm-hmm. My wife is 38 and a half weeks pregnant, okay? We'll be a father very, very soon. It's exciting. It's 10 days away now, which is crazy. But when my little baby comes into this world and they grow up, when they're 5 or 6 years old and they begin to understand concepts, what football is, I'm going to have to explain to them what the Pac-12 was. They're not going to know what the Pac-12 was. You know why? Because the Pac-12 is about to be eliminated. They're about to get wiped off the map. And if you don't know what we're talking about, the Pac-12 right now is getting raided. Teams are getting plucked out of there left and right. The Pac-12 is obviously, they're the kind of the forgotten conference out there. They play their games real late at night when a lot of people on the East Coast and Central Time Zone aren't awake anyway. You know your few teams out there. You can name Washington, Oregon, USC, UCLA, Stanford. But then, there's other teams you forget about, Cal, Washington State, these teams. But they haven't made a college football playoff since Washington did it in 2016. It's been a long time. They're kind of irrelevant. Well, they're getting relevant again. They're in the headlines because Colorado just got plucked out of there. Deion Sanders is heading to the Big 12. Big 12 it's the opposite. The Big 12 is steadily gaining, and the Pac 12 is steadily losing. And there's more to come, folks. If you're a fan of the Pac 12, I'm sorry, but there's more to come. Washington and Oregon, I fully expect. I've heard even reports tonight that it might happen. I know Washington was having a meeting tonight with their Board of Administrators, and the title of the meeting was Secret Meeting or something like that. And I'm like, well, wow, that doesn't make me suspicious. So I think Oregon and Washington are about to bounce. Utah, I know Arizona State, Utah, and BYU. Well, BYU's already in the Big 12, but Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State, I've heard as early as tomorrow they will be in the Big 12. I know for a fact Arizona will be in the Big 12. From everything I've heard, Arizona State, I've heard, has been in talks. I heard Utah's been in talks. Washington's having meetings. Haven't heard much on Oregon, but you would have to think they're going to move. I don't know for Washington and Oregon if that's the Big 10 or if that's the Big 12 or where that is. Then you got rumors Clemson and Florida State. They're all leaving. And, man, college football just isn't what it used to be, and we'll get more into this. Brandon, what's kind of your take on all this realignment that's going on?
I think there's certain healthy elements to it, but there's like with everything, there's downsides. And it was it a year ago that we were talking about the Big 12 going under?
Yeah.
Is it like last year we were having the same discussion? And I don't know I know you do remember this, Zach, but the little alliance that the Pac-12, was it the Pac-12, the Big 12?
Yeah.
Was it the Big 10 involved with that too, or was it just the Pac-12?
I can't remember who all was involved, but I remember the alliance forming.
Basically, it was, quite frankly, an anti-SEC,
because they were upset the SEC was building a superpower when they got Oklahoma and Texas, so they kind of band together. And now, I'm going to say that band broke. I feel like they kind of stabbed the Pac-12 in the back a little bit.
They had a chance, back discussions on, I know, the playoff. And the Pac-12 didn't want to cooperate with anybody. And we've discussed this before. About TV deals and things like that. You have the SEC and the ACC, which the TV deal may not mean anything here in just a few years for them, but you have ESPN, which controls the SEC network.
Well, they will start next year. You meant the SEC network.
The SEC network.
Yeah,
itself.
I was talking about covering the SEC games.
Right.
ESPN will take that over next year.
It goes even further. That's right. They'll be exclusive.
Yeah.
But then you have the Big 10, which is Fox. Obviously, the ACC, the same thing with the SEC network. But then you have the Pac-12.
Apple TV has a deal on the table right now. It's $20 million. Which, oh, wow, that sounds like a lot. But I can guarantee you the SEC's deal with CBS and ESPN is a lot more than $20 million. But, yeah, I think from what I read, the Pac-12 has not accepted that offer, but is likely. And in that case, you will have to buy a subscription to Apple TV in order to watch Pac-12 conference games that aren't picked up by, I'm sure if number 1 in USC is playing number 4 Oregon, that'll be on ESPN.
Is that the future? Is streaming the future? Because you notice Apple, they're obviously wanting to get in there. You have Prime Video with the Thursday Night Football NFL game exclusive that they snagged away from NBC.
Well, I think when you talk about streaming college football being the future, I think it is the future, but I think we're a ways away from that point, if that makes sense. I think they're kind of getting ahead of their time. Like, What's a good example? Okay, Blockbuster.
Yeah.
We remember Blockbuster. What happened? How did Blockbuster go under? Basically, people stopped going and getting movies in person because Netflix became available. Originally, Netflix would mail it to your house.
I remember those days.
And now you can just, I mean, me, my family, we don't have DirecTV or Dish. We just do streaming services.
Yep.
But that's when it comes to this. People are more passionate about their sports than they are their TV shows in a lot of cases. Like,
oh, for sure.
Like,
there's emotion.
Yeah. So for me, I do think streaming is the future, but I don't know how far we are. You know, there are a lot of older people, and I mean this nicely, that like to watch college football or NFL. How many older people do you know are watching that exclusive Thursday night football game in the NFL? How many older people know how to get or want to pay for these streaming
I've heard
sites?
complaints. I have heard complaints, yeah, about, you know, it's not like you can just cut your TV on, go to channel whatever, 9 or whatever the channel is, and there it is. It's all these extra steps. And I know a lot of people aren't ready for that yet.
I think, okay, say Pac-12 does sign this Apple TV deal, and for the, you know, crazy college football fans like me and yourself, personally, I'm not going to pay for Apple TV, first of all, because I don't root for a team in the Pac-12. I don't care enough. I'll see the highlights, or I'll illegally stream it. Okay, let's just be honest here. Second, well, tying into that, how much money am I already paying for subscriptions? You know, Netflix, Hulu.
It adds up.
All that. So you factor that in, and then, you know, if you're a casual college football fan out there, say you like Ole Miss and you just like to watch Ole Miss games. You don't care about what else is going on in the country, you know. They're not going to buy Apple TV to watch the Pac-12, number one. The only people that are really going to get on this streaming platform are Pac-12 fans, I feel. And, like, because even a diehard like myself, I'm not going to buy it. The casual fan's not going to buy it. So who are you really appealing to here? And it's taking eyes off of you, because even if the casual fan gets done watching his favorite team, Ole Miss plays Arkansas one night. He gets done watching it. What happens right when that game goes off? Cal versus Stanford comes on the ESPN. And, you know, and the man might be like, this is interesting. You know, I love football. I'll watch this game.
I'll stick around and watch.
And he gets you know, he likes it.
Yeah.
Well, you're taking that away now. Now even the casual fan surfing the TV is not going to see a Pac-12 football game unless it's a major game picked up by one of these big networks. So my question is, who does the streaming platform appeal to? What would be your answer to that? Like, what audience are they appealing to? Because it's not the diehard college football fan. To me, I mean, I consider myself diehard, and I'm not buying it, and it's not the casual football fan.
Is it the football fan at all? Is it the sports fan? Because I notice you're seeing this more and more, the intermingling between sports and non-sports media, entertainment, things like that, you know, and making it more of an entertainment thing. I don't know if that's what they're in different platforms, different companies they may have different R&D, research and development, where like Apple may be appealing to 18 to 30-year-old whatever, males, females, or Amazon. It just depends.
I'll tell you another kind of story, and I think this isn't thought about either. We're talking about taking eyes off of this. Okay, let's talk about this angle of it. Recruiting. You got to tell the kids coming in to recruit, man, you're not going to be on national TV, but your family can watch you on Apple. Or these NFL scouts and stuff. Yes, I know scouts will go see them in person and that sort of thing, but they're not getting the national exposure that you would if you're playing on a nationally televised game. You know, if you rush for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns on ESPN, everybody's tweeting about you, everybody's talking about you. You do it on Apple TV, yeah, you're going to have some diehards out there keeping up with it, but it's not going to be like, oh, the casual person is talking about this. I'll give you another example about taking eyes off. 2008, I was always a baseball fan. I played baseball since the time I could basically walk. But I didn't have a favorite MLB team. I was too young. I was 10 years old in 2008. And you really, even at 10, like, you think you know what you're talking about, but you really don't. Well, I became a Tampa Bay Rays fan because I was going through one night on MLB Network, the channel 213, I think, on DirecTV. I was going through it, saw the Tampa Bay Rays playing, had no idea who they were. I was like, these guys are really cool. They all had mohawks that year, and they had cool uniforms, and I was like, I think I'm a Tampa Bay Ray fan. And I still am to this day, all because So, again, another thing is, I feel like you're going to lose fans. Like, people aren't going to be able to discover you.
How old did you say you was?
10.
10. Think about a kid that's sitting in front of the TV, and maybe his family isn't into sports. Maybe his parents didn't take them. His dad didn't take him to sporting events when he was young, and he's sitting there surfing the TV. And he comes across anything. I mean, it could be that, but just for the conversation, a football game. And maybe he sees a team and he's like, I like their colors. I like their quarterback. And then
I want to be a fan of them.
you want to be a fan. You want to seek out more. You want to see more.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot easier. It's a lot easier when you can just access it like that through ESPN, even your local channels, because most people, at least here in the United States, the majority of people can pick up local channels through an antenna for free, for relatively free. I mean, you have obviously the cost of the antenna, but we're talking about ABC, Fox, CBS, and then obviously NBC, but that's
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame has the contract with them, which is...
And they're independent.
Notre Dame does not... They don't have to be in a conference.
Yeah.
They have the TV deal.
They just signed a huge uniform extension with Under Armour. I believe Under Armour.
How many schools out there can do that?
Not many, but going back to this subject, like, I forgot what I was going to say. Well, we'll move on. But let's go back to the expansion aspect of it. Okay. Let me ask you, Brandon. Just in a few sentences, a paragraph. College football in 2030. Let's just fast forward 7 years.
Yeah.
What does the landscape of college football look like in 7 years?
Unimaginable. Okay. All right. Let's take it. What's 7 years ago from today?
7 years ago from today would have been 2016. 2016.
All right. Let's take 2016 to now.
Washington was in the playoffs.
Not a whole lot difference. Obviously, by that point, we had the playoff because we started the playoff in 14. It was the 14th season. It was, yeah.
Well, let's go farther. Let's go 10 years. That way, we'll go pre-college football playoff to now. So 2030 or 2033, what do you think college football will look like in 2033? If you backpedal to 2013, it's the last year of the BCS.
Well, we can look at it one of two ways. All right. You know that hopefully certain growing pains to the NIL have been worked out. Maybe the transfer portal.
I mean,
it's
a while. 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah. Now, pre-pandemic, it was the
year before the pandemic, wasn't it?
The excuse is the pandemic threw everything off track. I don't know if I believe that or not, because you had plenty of time to, there's this thing called the internet. I don't know if people have ever heard of it. And cell phones and all that good stuff. But anyway, 10 years from now, I think we're looking at... you hear most people say 2 big conferences.
Yeah, the Big Ten and the SEC.
All right, all right, let's take it conference by conference. The SEC isn't going anywhere. It's only going to grow. Now, if you would have said 4 years, 5 years, I would have said, well, it's going to be 16 teams. But if we're looking that far ahead into the future, it's a good chance that you have,
I think 20.
20. And who is that 20? We're talking about Clemson.
Clemson, Florida State.
Florida State. Which, by the way, in case you didn't know, within the southeastern United States, it's not,
Region
US,
doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
I
and
would
I hate
not-
that.
this
And
is
I know you hate that too.
This is the sad part. I could wake up tomorrow, get a notification on my phone, Oregon is joining the SEC. I tell you, I wouldn't be surprised. That's where we are in college football. Where is Oregon located geographically? Pull up a map for the folks. Some people out there might be geographically challenged. Let's pull up a map here.
Okay.
Brandon's getting after it, a map of the U.S., and we're going to do a little exercise. If you're an audio listener, just visualize here. If you're a YouTube watcher, TikToker, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about here.
Hold on. Right.
So Brandon's about to cast this to our broadcast because he's awesome and he's a tech-savvy guy.
If I could only figure out if I could draw on here like John Madden back in the day, drawing.
Rest in peace, legend.
Yes. Yes.
Or like Kirk Herbstreit. He's not rest in peace, but
he's
draws.
pretty good.
Yeah. So you got this pulled up?
Yep. Give me just a second, sir.
All right. While he's doing that, my point is geography no longer matters when it comes to college football, and I'm not just talking about in a realignment sense. You'll see what I'm talking about in just a second. There it is. We've got the map of the United States. Look at her. Isn't she wonderful?
Hold on. Let me do some. Let me clean this up a little bit. It's a very colorful map here.
Isn't she wonderful?
Yep.
Look at it. The lower 48. Oh, and even Alaska peeking through.
Oh man.
All right.
Terrible.
So hover over Oregon for us. Do you have a mouse?
See if we
on
can
there?
stretch a little bit here. This looks terrible, Zach.
No,
What are we
fine.
doing?
That's fine.
Hold on. I can fix
All right. So if you're on audio, just bear with us. I'm trying to prove a point here.
All right.
All right, viewers and listeners.
All right. Let me put this full screen for those of you out there on YouTube land. Again, those of you on audio, just use your brain.
Or
use
grab
some
your phone and
Grab your phone. Yeah, I mean, you can follow along with us, whatever you're doing. If you're at work, just stop working.
well,
take a
that'd be
break.
easy for us.
Yeah, it would be very
Harder
easy.
for others. All right, that looks pretty good.
Okay, well, we're here. We're good.
All right, so there's the map of the United States. If you look up there in the top left-hand corner, not the yellow state, but the green state, it says Oregon. Okay,
Right here.
they have been rumored to join teams like Penn State over in Pennsylvania in a conference. Okay, you can see that's about every state apart. Okay. Now,
Pretty much.
they're just rumored to do so. There's a team in Southern California named USC and UCLA. They are joining the same conference, which also includes a team in New Jersey. Great pizza, but going to play a conference game in Piscataway, New Jersey in 10-degree weather, if you're a USC Trojan or UCLA Bruin, can't imagine. And I'm not just hating on the Big Ten, because here we go, here's another one. Colorado, if you look there, kind of the western central part of the states, you'll see Colorado. Deion Sanders is down there somewhere. So there we'll have to go play a conference game in Orlando, Florida. It's a long way. That will be a conference game as they go play UCF, who is now also a part of the Big 12.
They could get off the plane in Colorado, or get on the plane in Colorado, 6-degree weather, snow, 2 feet of snow on the ground, fly to Florida where it's 78 degrees and sunny the same day.
Also, okay, that's the map for conference expansion. Okay, that's just ridiculous enough as it is. Think about the travel on these kids. I mean, this is going to be crazy. These kids are going to have to fly. I mean, from California to New York, I know, is a pretty good little haul. So to New Jersey's not much shorter. So, I mean, that's going to be tough. But
Oh, yeah.
also recruiting-wise, regionality no longer matters. Now more than ever, you're seeing kids leave state. Okay? Whereas if a kid grew up in Florida and played college football in Florida, yeah, he might venture out to an Alabama, to a Georgia, but typically they're going to stay in state. This is 15 years ago. Kid in Texas, he's going to stay in Texas. Kid in Louisiana's not, they're still holding that state down. A kid in California, they're going to go to USC, UCLA, Stanford. Why, Brandon, you can answer this too. Why do you think we're seeing more kids in recruiting leave their state? I think I have a pretty good feel for this and answer. Why now more than ever does a kid feel the need to leave his state to go play college football, even if he's in a talent like a state with multiple Power 5 schools?
Well, I will answer your question with a question. Does it involve something that's green?
Well, I think money does play a part, but I think it's more
Partially.
of something you said earlier. Transfer portal.
Exactly.
Here's what I think. I think a kid now, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm just saying recruiting is now, regions no longer matter. A kid in Miami, Florida can play ball down there. He likes the Hurricanes, but guess what? He grew up a Kentucky Wildcat fan. So, as we're used to, you would have to sit out a year. He knows now, hey, I really like Kentucky. It's not the best fit for me. I don't like the campus as much, but man, I really grew up a fan of them, and they're going to give me a good NIL deal. And I have the transfer portal in my back pocket. If I don't like it there, I can always move back to Florida and go play for Miami. Kid commits to Florida. Year later, he doesn't get on the field. He says, man, I really miss home. Man, well, good thing we have that transfer portal. I think that's a big reason you're seeing kids leave the state. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. You look at places like Georgia. Places like that have always been able to recruit nationally. And now, I will say Georgia has ramped that up. Let's use Alabama. That's a better example. Alabama can recruit nationally. When you're good, you can do that. But we're seeing teams that don't have sustained success still go into other states and poach talent. And it's because of the transfer portal or NIL. Now, I'm not saying that's all a bad thing. You're giving kids more opportunities to expand their horizons. They can leave the state. They can be farther away from family. They know they can transfer back if they have to or if they need to. But I'm saying regionally, the game has changed in multiple facets, not just conference realignment, but also in recruiting. And that's kind of the point I want to make is college football is no longer – I feel like I wasn't alive in the 90s except for 98 and 99. But, from what I hear people say, regionality mattered in the 1990s when it came to college football. Like, if Auburn was going to play South Carolina in 1990, it wasn't just, I want to beat them because they're an SEC team. I want to beat them because Alabama's a better state than South Carolina is. Like, we want to show them that we're superior. You just don't have that anymore. And with conference realignment getting like this, it's just going to get even crazier. And I mean, I'm personally not a fan of the way the sport's trending. I believe in 10 years we are going to be at two major conferences with about 20 teams in each, and possibly even the NFL model, the NFC and the AFC. So you'd have the Big Ten and the SEC, and then you'd have divisions inside of the conference. So you have the Southeast division of the the Southeast division of the SEC. You have the Southwest division of the SEC.
Yeah.
I don't like that. They're trying to professionalize college football. We already have a professional football. If you want to watch professional football, go watch the NFL. I like tradition. I like passion. I like regionality because I feel like that's what college football was built on. And now I feel like it's drifting from that.
Does that involve leaving the NCAA, essentially? Like, I hear a lot of the governing body of
they're breaking
everything.
away. I feel like we're less than probably 5 years from the SEC and Big Ten.
Because that's a big thing to add to it. What
Now,
happens?
Big
there?
12 has kind of made things interesting because they didn't roll over and die like the Pac-12 is going to eventually do. The Pac-12 is, I'm telling y'all, they're on their last legs. They're going to roll over and die. The Big 12 went out and hired a new commissioner who has a background in TV deals and said, we're not going to roll over and die. And they've gone out and they've poached teams. Are they high-profile national contending teams? I wouldn't say that. Houston, BYU, Colorado, teams like that. But they're doing something, which is better than nothing in this situation. They've kind of made it interesting. That's my unknown. What will the Big 12 be going forward? I have no idea. Could we see the Big 12 merge with the SEC one day and just become a huge conference? I don't know.
That's very likely. I never thought about that, about two conferences combining like that. That is definitely something that could happen, though. I could see that.
I could see the ACC merging. We hadn't talked about them, but I could see them merging with the Big Ten at some point. A lot of their schools are up in that region.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of done talking about it because nothing I can do about it, and I don't like it, and I don't like that I can't do anything about it, and I don't like it. I'm still going to watch college football, and I don't know how you feel. You might love it, or you out there listening, you might be like, this is awesome. I just don't think that way.
Well, I know, and we've spoke about this before, that the way it was back in the BCS, obviously no money or no legal money was changing hands. You had, all right, and this was something I was going to bring up a minute ago. I know you remember, Zach, probably when you were a kid, you couldn't see if you were a fan, especially like me as an Ole Miss fan for all my life. I can remember a time for years and years there where I might get to see 2 or 3 games on TV all year, versus now where you can pretty much see any game, any team on TV, at least for the big conferences like the SEC. So we're kind of spoiled, and that's kind of circling back to the original thing with Pac-12 and their TV deal. We're spoiled now. We want to see, we know that we can see our teams on the TV. So any change, like going to streaming, for example, is a big thing. And all right, California, how many Pac-12 teams were in California, if you're including USC and UCLA? Is there Stanford,
Cal, just 4, I think.
4. What is the market? You look at what you have going on in Los Angeles, California. You have all these pro sports going on around there. Is college football really important to the majority of the people in that area of the country?
Not like it is the South. I've grown up in the South my whole life. I live, breathe, and die college football every Saturday. We hang on to everything our team does. Mm-hmm. Not saying it's right, but if our team throws an interception, we're mad, and we let that affect us the rest of the day if we lose.
Yep.
Or if we win.
Next week.
They don't feel the same around the world. I've spent some time in New York City, and I've asked people that live there, which they don't have college football in New York City. There's no, college football in the city. But I asked them, do you have a favorite college football team? And I'd get the occasional Ohio State, Penn State. They're close, sort of, but nobody cares about it like we do in the South. They see it more as like, oh, I'll watch it, but it's not like I know who the players are.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Just casually viewing it.
Yeah.
Casual viewing.
But
it's going to be interesting to see 10 years. I can't imagine. It kind of broke my heart when I first had found out that CBS, the deal between the SEC and CBS,
that
is going to go.
Oh, that beautiful theme.
When you tune in at 2:30 Central Time
on a Saturday, chills.
Especially when it's gotten to that point of the year where it's a little cooler outside.
Sure, you got a flannel shirt on. Man, you hear that theme.
Hearing that theme, and you're in for 3.5 to 4 hours.
Man, back in the day when you would hear Vern Lundquist, which
I miss his voice.
Me too.
I miss his voice on the broadcast.
But
I like Brad Nessler, but Vern,
goat.
It's a goat.
Goat stuff, bro.
See, now it's going to be completely different for them after this year.
Yeah. So it's just a crazy, crazy landscape we live in, and I don't see it getting much better. But you want to talk some actual ball now? We've been kind of talking the landscape of ball.
A little forecast in the future, trying to see what we think, but like you said, we can't do anything about it. We're just along for the ride.
Yeah.
We're just along for the ride.
And yeah. we're here. We'll watch it, but I'm not happy, as you can probably tell, about all that. But okay, I will say this. I love the SEC. Part of this is the SEC's fault, right? Who made the first move? We did. We went and got Oklahoma. And, okay, so you had the band of the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the Big 12 that came together and said, we're against the expansion, you know. Well, I feel like they were all like, no way the SEC's going to do this. Well, we got froggy and we leapt. And we snatched Texas and Oklahoma away. And then Big Ten said, oh no, we're going to fall behind. Let's go get UCLA and USC. It just started downward trend.
The SEC's been involved in this before. Was it 1990 when?
Well, 2012. Missouri and Texas A&M.
All right. Well, Arkansas. Was it the
Arkansas
Big
came up
East?
from the Southwest.
Southwest Conference. As well as South Carolina. I don't know what South Carolina was in at that time. That may have been the Big East. You know, there used to be a lot more conferences than there is now. Obviously, that have folded over time.
There's about to be less.
It's a domino effect.
But
it's just over decades and decades of time.
This is the last thing I want to say about the expansion or the landscape of college football, but where did this all start? Because I feel like this is Alabama's fault. And let me preface here. Alabama, they hired Nick Saban.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't do great his first year, but then we know the rest. He goes on to become the greatest coach of all time.
Nick Saban, he's not going to last 3 years. Oh, that Nick Saban, they should have left him at Miami.
So he comes along. He wins a bunch of national championships. Everybody gets in an uproar. It's the same team winning the national championship every single year. This is getting ridiculous. We need to expand the playoffs.
That Alabama LSU national championship was like the straw that broke the camel's back.
You're right. They expand the playoffs. Okay, that was bad enough. I'd rather go back to the BCS. They expand the playoffs.
Hot take.
We expand the playoffs. Oh, lo and behold, 10 years later, what are they screaming? It's the same teams winning the national championship every single year. Not only should we expand the playoffs, but we should give players money to entice them not to go to these big schools like Alabama and Ohio State. We should give them money to equal the playing field. Let's do something called NIL and transfer portal. That way we can even the playing field. Plus, we're going to expand to 12 and give more playoff spots. Where do you think we're going to be in 10 years when it comes to that stuff? I can tell you what we're going to be.
You got to keep going further and further.
The same teams keep making the playoffs. The same 12. My team got left out at 13. A 3-loss Alabama got in over a 1-loss Kentucky. Can you believe it? This is ridiculous. We need to go to 16. 16 is the perfect number. There are 16 teams that are worthy of being in the college football playoff. I guarantee you can clip this or whatever you want to do. There's going to be complaints when we get the 12-team playoff. I'm against it. I hate it. It's stupid. Why go to 12?
Hot take.
You're not going to have a 12-seed Troy win the national championship. It's just not going to happen. You might have a 12-seed Alabama win the national championship, a 12-seed Ohio State. Because here's the name of the game. This is all college football comes down to, plain and simple. Talent acquisition. You go look at the recruiting rankings. You tell me where Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, all of them have been over the past 10 years in the recruiting rankings. It's top 5.
Oh, yeah.
Every single year.
No doubt.
That's what it comes down to. Who's got the best players? That's That stuff makes me mad.
Well, all right. I don't mind the expansion of the playoff. I just think I just wonder why they went straight to 12.
Yeah, why not? I think 6. You should have had a first round bye for the number 1 and 2 seeds, and then a 4-team semifinal.
That really surprised me that 12 was the number that that's 6 or 8.
Well,
They already consider, if you look at the 4-team playoff now, they already first 2 out.
Yeah.
So when they're doing their discussion of the top 4 teams, they're already taking 5 and 6 into consideration. So it would be a natural. It would be natural just to.
I can tell you exactly why they went to 12. It's the same reason we wake up to go to work every morning.
Mm-hmm.
Cash, money.
All right, because you're going to have.
You can sell a lot more. Would you rather have, right now you have 4 huge bowl games. You have the 2 semifinals,
Yep.
or excuse me, 3. The 2 semifinal games and the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
They make a lot of money off that.
Yeah.
Would you rather add 2 more, or 2 more of those? No, 1 more of those games, or would you rather add a whole lot more and be 12 and make a whole lot more money?
Also, you add a playoff game. I believe they're going to do it this way. They're going to add a playoff game on a campus.
Yeah.
It's going to be maybe 2 or 4 playoff games at a campus. And then you think about local economies and all that stuff. It all revolves around money. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, if you're out there and you think, oh, they expanded it so the underdog gets a chance, they don't give a rip about your underdog team. All they care about is that money. I'm just go ahead and tell you that. So, we'll segue a little bit.
Well, Zach, do you want to give a little update on recruiting?
Yeah,
we'll try to segue away a little bit. Talk about
just off
something
the
else.
noggin, some stuff I've been researching, reading, all this. There's 3 big recruitments this weekend going on. Really, it comes down to 5-star KJ Bolden. He's a 5-star safety out of the state of Georgia, Buford to be exact. He has narrowed down his decision to 5 schools, but it's really a 3-team race. Excuse me, had to burp. It's a 3-team race. It's Florida State, Georgia, and Auburn. And he is a 5-star. He's the number 8 player in the entire country, number 1 safety. We're talking about a dog. KJ Bolden is a great player. He's listed highly on every single website. This guy is a guy anybody would be happy to welcome to their team. Well, he makes his commitment at 6 o'clock Central Time, Saturday night. And at first, he's been a UGA lean for a long time, coming out of the state of Georgia. Kirby Smart started recruiting him when he was in 9th grade. He was Georgia was one of his very first offers. They've been on him since the beginning. Well, now it seems Florida State is his dream school. He has said he grew up wanting to go to Florida State. And Auburn has made a late push with Hugh Freeze is on fire on the recruiting trail. And they've made a late push, and he said that Auburn's in his final 2. He said that out of his own mouth. So I guess we'll see. Right now, KJ's done a great job. None of the experts out there are really putting any crystal balls in. Nobody knows where this dude's going. He's kept it under wraps. If I had to give a prediction today, I want to say Georgia. I really, really do. But I think I'm going to... I don't know. I tell you, I'm not going to put in a prediction because on one hand, I say he's got the longest relationship with the Dogs. He's close to Kirby. Kirby was a DB in college. He's a defensive-minded coach. Florida State was his dream school. That's where he grew up wanting to go. And they're hot on the recruiting trail. Auburn came in hot. Hugh Freeze might have sold him on, come make your name known at Auburn. Let's come here and let's make something. Don't go to something that's already built. It's tough. I'm not going to give a prediction. I very well think it could be Auburn or Florida State or Georgia for that matter. Whatever he decides, I won't be shocked. And I know that's a coward's way out, but that's the truth. Also, on that same day, Amari Jefferson out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, the 5'11.5" wide receiver, has narrowed his decisions down to all Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia. This is really a 2-team race between Tennessee and Alabama. He's a baseball commit to Tennessee. His first love was baseball. He still plays baseball. He wants to play baseball and football in college. He's a 4-star receiver. The the crystal balls have come in, a lot of them for Alabama. They think Alabama is slightly ahead of Tennessee in this one. But you know what? Zach Ainsworth's putting his crystal ball in. I'm going to go Tennessee. I have a feeling Amari Jefferson's going to stay in state. I think the baseball thing's going to play a big factor for him. He's already a vol commit in baseball. I think they have a much better baseball program than Alabama does at this point. And I think that baseball is going to be a big reason he wants to go play. Plus, he'll be in a high-flying offense playing wide receiver for Tennessee. Amari Jefferson to the Vols, in my opinion. Last but certainly not least, the number 1 rated running back in the nation, Nathaniel Nate Frazier out of California. He's the number 1 running back on On3. He's a 4-star on 247. And he's a top 10 running back on there, I think number 4 overall. But Nate Frazier will finally make his decision. He's down to Alabama, Texas A&M, Oregon, and Georgia. And he will make his commitment on Sunday. I can't remember the time. Sometime Sunday night. And it's really between Georgia and Oregon. Big weekend for Georgia, as you can tell. And I think he's going to go to the Dogs. I think Nathaniel Frazier will commit to Georgia. And they will, again, bring in a 5-star running back out of the state of California. If you remember a couple cycles ago, they brought in Kendall Milton, who we talked about on last episode. He was also out of the state of California. I think they'll land Nathaniel Frazier, and that'll give them 3 running back commits in the top 10. Chauncey Bowens being the other one, and Dwight Phillips Jr. So if the Dogs get him, they have a stable of running backs that should be great for years, kind of like Gurley, Chubb, and Michelle. If those guys can live up to that kind of hype, the Dogs are in real good shape. But that's your recruiting breakdown. I'm going KJ Bolden, undecided for me. Amari Jefferson, Tennessee, and Nathaniel Frazier to the Dogs. All right, Brandon, let me pass it back over to you. What you want to talk about next? Where are we going?
Well, let's just stop right there at high school football. Let's just not really talk about high school football, but just, well, yeah, let's talk about it a little bit. The purest form of football, right? See, we talk about college and we talk about all this new stuff, these new landscapes, and it's unrecognizable, and in the future will be very much unrecognizable than it was even now, but 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Hey, regionality still matters in high school football.
You're exactly right.
You want to beat the team.
That's something that's probably never going to change.
Well, people said that about college football in the 90s. They'll get a transfer portal and NIL for high school next. Just watch out. You can transfer all your credits here, and we'll give you $500,000.
You know what, though? You do kind of see a mild version of and I don't know how to. You got your IMG academies, for example.
Yeah.
Your private schools, which, believe it or not, actively recruit, which in at least here and I believe in most states.
A school in Mississippi got busted today for recruiting.
I saw that. It's some kind of private school, right?
Yeah, down in, I believe it was, there's 2, and I don't want to get them confused because I don't want to accidentally say it. It was either Heritage or Hartfield. It was Heritage Academy, I believe. Heritage Academy illegally recruited a football player from St. Joe's Prep down near Jackson, Mississippi. And I believe it was Heritage, but it could have been Hartfield. Let me make sure, because I don't want to come out here and say the wrong thing. But anyway, they illegally recruited a football player from St. Joe's Prep or St. Joe's Academy, something like that. And they're banned from all postseason play for a year. They're having to pay a $7,000 fine. The coaches are appealing this decision. I don't know how far this is going to go. We can't even find the article.
It's hard, yeah.
I can tell you who posted it on Twitter if that helps.
All right, what you got?
Blake Levine. He's
I believe that is what I saw.
He covers high school football in Mississippi.
Imagine that. Can you imagine covering high school football like that?
WJTV.
That must be a difficult job, just because you don't have as many resources.
Yes.
All right, here we go. Nope, that's definitely not it.
They whatever academy it was, they pulled the old
Okay, here we
oh,
go.
excuse me, it was Hartfield. I'm sorry,
Hartfield
Heritage,
Academy.
if you're out there listening.
All right, it says right here, Blake Levine's tweet here, and I don't have it on the screen, but I'll just quote it. Hartfield Academy is ineligible for the 2023 MAIS 6A playoffs due to recruiting violations. The school has also been fined $7,500, along with 2 coaches being banned from coaching games this season. That's pretty serious.
Man, they pulled a Jeremy Pruitt, they pulled a Hugh Freeze.
Ooh.
They went out here and tried to recruit somebody to come to Hartfield. Listen, I won't lie, I went to a private school. The biggest scandal in my private school was recruiting 2 kids here from Australia. So that's just a different story for a different day.
Honestly, that really shocked me because, like, I've always heard of
recruiting happens,
man, happening, especially at this private level. And I guess it's easier because you're paying to go to school, essentially. And they can give scholarships.
I know a guy from my hometown who was offered to go, I won't say the school, he was offered to go to a much bigger school to play quarterback for them, and basketball and baseball, he played it all. He was a great athlete, but he was offered to go there, and he would have got tuition for free.
Yep.
Because, private school, you have to pay.
Yep.
He would have had free tuition. And there's a certain player that used to play for the Ole Miss Rebels who also played for a big school in the Jackson metro area, who I've heard very strong rumors that he transferred there his sophomore season because his family was given a house in the area, and he went on to obviously be a 5-star recruit, went on to Ole Miss to have a pretty good career. So yeah, recruiting in high school football happens. It just might not, like you think, you might not get a bag of money. It might be more of a, hey, here's something that we'll buy for you.
Is it no mistake, or is it just a coincidence that private schools are, at least on certain levels, way better than the public schools, at least in their division? Like, okay, here in Mississippi we have 1A through 6A, and I believe they'll start 7A either this year or next year.
I would say public schools are better at football around here, except for your outliers, like your Jackson Preps, your Madison Ridgeland Academies.
And these are your big 6A, 7A.
Yeah.
Or 6A, will be 7A.
Because if you just take a 4A public school off the street and a 4A private school, the public school is probably going to beat them every time. Mm-hmm. If you take a 6A public school here against a 6A private school that's not one of those I named, the public school will drum them every time. But I would say, if you take, Starkville's probably the best team in Mississippi. They're great. Mm-hmm. They would beat any 6A private school by 100, except for maybe Jackson Prep and MRA. Yeah. Because these guys have legit D1 prospects.
I'd like to know if other states have similar issues, but in baseball, for example, high school baseball, at the really lower levels, you have a lot of, because it's all together. The private schools don't have their own thing. Mm-hmm. They're in with the public schools, and I know in baseball, and it's obviously not like this every year, but for at least a while, on average, it seemed like there were a lot more private schools winning state championships, or at least getting to the state championship in baseball in the lower levels, 1A, 2A, 3A. And I'd really like to know if other states have similar, I don't even want to say issues, but if that happens in other states.
I think, what's crazy is, some people don't remember this, MRA a couple years ago, it was right before COVID, they were really good. They were nationally ranked. They played on ESPN against Deion Sanders. The team Deion Sanders was coaching in Texas, which was a high school, and MRA beat Deion Sanders' team on ESPN. Listen, MRA recruits people. It's no surprise, but listen to this. So, MRA's teams canceled the season because of COVID. MRA wanted to play so bad, their coach put on Twitter, if you want to play us, hit me up. They came all the way up here to Corinth, Mississippi, and played Corinth High School, beat them. And Corinth's a big school.
That's a pretty good drive. That's a 4.5-hour drive, 5-hour drive, maybe?
Yeah, and that's a big school. So, yeah, I think every state, I'm not gonna act like I'm plugged into high school athletics. I could call somebody right now who's a coach at a high school. He's a basketball coach, but he's way more plugged in than I am.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know what goes on in the inner workings. I do know because I'm not an idiot. I went to a private school. People recruit. I would hear stuff every summer. Man, we're getting this guy who might be transferring from our local public school. Man, he ain't playing there, but I tell you, he'll be real good in private school ball. You'd hear that. He ain't real good in public school, but man, he'll be real good when he comes to private school.
Yeah.
They never were as good as they were hyped up to be honest. But yeah, it happens, and I'm sure it happens everywhere. And it happened in college football for a long time.
Yeah.
And some got caught, some didn't. And that's okay. That's how it works. Not everybody's always going to get caught red-handed. Hugh Freeze, but
Oh.
Nick Saban paid players. It's no secret. Les Miles paid players. Everybody paid players, whether it was actual currency, if it was under the table, it happened. I don't think you'll ever get cheating, quote unquote, out of sports because is it really cheating? It's legal now.
Yeah.
But you'll never get cheating out of sports because there's an outcome everybody wants when it comes to competition. And what is that? To win. And only one person can win. Mm-hmm. And people will do anything to win. This is life lessons with Zach and Brandon.
Yay.
But no, they'll never be able to regulate it to where there won't be recruiting in high school sports.
And I think in the most part, your public schools, I don't see it ever being an issue in a public school. It's a private school thing.
Well, I think a lot of private schools know a lot of these public school families might not have a lot of money. They might not have the income, but hey, they don't have the income to send their kid to that private school to get a better education most of the time.
That's what prohibits, and I've seen that before with guys that I've went to school with that wanted to go to a local private school, but it was the money thing.
Well, when it's paid for, it's a lot easier to go.
Mm-hmm. That's always easy. It's always easy getting a...
Yeah. I mean, I don't have that big of a problem with it. I don't know if that's bad or not.
I don't think it's big of it, because like I said, it's still pure to me. It's still, I love high school football so much.
Man, we're about to get rolling here in Northeast Mississippi real soon.
Yep. 2-3 weeks maybe. I'm sure these teams are doing jamborees and things like that.
Try to catch a Tupelo game. They're supposed to be, from what I saw, just decent this year, but they've got a few D1 guys that are going to some SEC schools, and I hope Starkville comes to Tupelo to play. That would be really awesome. Starkville's got some...
I'd like to make that a goal to see some high school football, because I haven't seen...
I'll tell you what.
I haven't seen
we'll go together.
There we go. You heard it here, folks.
But
I'd like to see... It's been a couple years since I've seen high school football.
If you're listening to this and you're not from Mississippi, you have no idea what we've been talking about for the past 15 minutes.
But I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can relate. I mean...
But,
No, but like I said, it's just because it first of all, it brings me back to my days. I remember being a senior in high school, to just a little 2A school out in the country, man, and we had this football team that at that point really hadn't been around but just a few years, and we basically a tractor shed was our locker room. I mean, we didn't have very much at that point, but we put together a good season, man. That's just a time that I'll never forget. I think we ended up being 8-4,
going to the second round. If you cry.
Look, high school. It's a very soft point. It softens my heart. But yeah, good times. I just love that, and I love football in general, college football, high school football.
Brandon, I think we're gonna scrap the little graphic you made earlier for now, because there's some other things I want to talk about.
Okay.
That's okay. I had a wide receiver rankings ready for everyone, but I don't know who out there really cares to hear it. Let's get something more spicy.
We can do some. We'll get into some maybe a little bit better rankings in the next few weeks. Maybe we might talk about the teams.
Yeah.
In general,
throw
or something
that
like
quote
that.
up that was floating around social media not too long ago.
I've been seeing a lot of quotes.
A lot of people talking.
A lot of these people on these these certain television networks with their opinions on these.
Well, this is what they do. They get paid to make us
I wish I could get paid to do that.
want to talk about it. So
Wish I could get.
Brandon's
paid to
about to throw a quote up, and I'll read it to those, or Brandon will, that aren't watching with us on the video versions of this show. There's the quote.
Oh, hold on.
There's the quote from a former bachelor,
Oh boy.
a brother of Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Rodgers also was a quarterback at Vanderbilt, but he has much more things he'll be that he'll be remembered for. Joe Milton is hands down the most talented quarterback in the entire country.
It's not even close.
Not even close. Now, I wanted to pull this up quote because this was outlandish. You know, I put Joe Milton as the second best quarterback in the SEC. I think Joe Milton is probably, I mean, if everything goes to plan, no injuries, he could very well be a Heisman contender. Joe Milton is a very good player. He's got a rocket arm. He can move. He can do a lot of good things. But does Jordan Rodgers realize the reigning Heisman winner is still playing college football? He didn't say Joe Milton is the most talented QB in the SEC. No, he said the country. And we just pulled up a map a minute ago. If you don't know what the country looks like by now, we can't help you.
It's a pretty big chunk of land.
He's saying Joe Milton is hands down, not even close, more talented than Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams will be the number 1 overall pick. Even if Caleb Williams sat out this year and said, I'm not going to play to avoid injury, Caleb Williams would be the number 1 pick this upcoming draft if nothing legal.
I think the scouts would actually prefer that, before he does sit out the whole year.
He would have been the number 1 pick last year. He would have been picked before C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. He would have been, Caleb Williams, he's going to be the number 1 pick. He's a 6'3", elusive. Think Bryce Young, but think 6'3" and stronger. That is Caleb Williams. He is a maniac. He's a monster. As long as nothing, if he doesn't do anything just egregious and illegal, he will be the number 1 overall pick. He is more talented, hands down, and it's not even, I won't say that. He is more talented, hands down, than Joe Milton is Caleb Williams. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, it's just proven. We've seen what Caleb Williams can do. Mm-hmm. Now, if Joe Milton comes out here this year and he shatters every record that has ever been made, if he shatters Joe Burrow's records, and he just outplays Caleb Williams, then I'll say Joe Milton is now the most talented QB in the country. But there's no way right now you can say Joe Milton is the most talented, and it's not even close, QB in the country. He's not projecting anything here. He's saying right now. And I'm not even bringing up Drake May, who is a heck of a quarterback at North Carolina, who can do everything on a football field, will probably be a top 5 pick in next year's draft. I just saw this quote, and I was like, he had to do this for clicks. And why are we listening to Jordan Rodgers' opinions on quarterbacks when he was a subpar quarterback at Vanderbilt? Boom, roasted. Now, he could roast me and say, you're just a fat guy on a couch, and he would be right. But I'm okay with that. I don't know if he's okay with his subpar career, but it happened.
Well, I don't know.
I'm going to say he's the least remembered Rodgers brother.
See, all right, I didn't even know it was until not that long ago. I never knew that. Well, obviously, if you watch the SEC Network, they... when they show the graphic of the name, they always say, like,
Yeah, his doesn't say Vandy quarterback. It says Aaron Rodgers' brother. I don't know.
You know, it probably does. I didn't know that either until not that long ago, but that would entice people a little bit more. Oh, he's Aaron Rodgers' brother. Oh, yeah. Said you usually see, he was Vandy's quarterback.
He was also on The Bachelor.
I see why he's on the SEC Network and not the NFL or whatever.
You might have noticed we had no trivia tonight. That's because of a very special reason that Brandon's just finding out about now, because I like to put him in tight situations.
All right.
Because he's looking up currently, as we speak, on the internet, the Immaculate Grid.
Is that right? I'm
Yep.
looking up them. I am. I'm looking.
Type in Immaculate Grid. I have not looked at today's football Immaculate Grid, but me and Brandon are going to see if we can solve this in live time. Click the football one. I know how to play.
Okay, I know how to play. Yeah.
It's basically a Punnett square. You got to name a player that played for both of those teams. You get no wrong guesses. You miss, you're done. To close the show out tonight, we're going to pull up the Immaculate Grid.
All right, you ready for this?
You're about to see us in real time. Try to get it.
There we go.
I will say, Brandon.
Explain this real quick to those that
So
don't know, and
basically,
our audio listeners.
It's a Punnett square. There's 3 teams on the left side, 3 teams across the top. For example, in this one, you have Detroit Lions, Las Vegas Raiders. You would have to name a player who played for the Lions and the Raiders, then the Lions and the Bengals, then was a Lion and a first-team AP All-Pro, then Jaguars, Cardinals, etc. until you complete the grid, and we're going to try to do it. No time limit, but I will allow us one phone a friend if we need it, and if they don't answer, that counts as our phone call. I'm going to try to talk us through this while I think, which could be very, very challenging. I do know one I want to go ahead and answer, Brandon. Click on Jaguars, Raiders square. I'm going to go with Zay Jones. Z-A-Y.
Zay Jones.
Jones.
Would it be that one right there?
Yep. Zay Jones is correct. How many percent put that answer?
34%.
34%. Now, here's a little wrinkle to it. Can I name where he went to college?
Ooh.
Just because I want to try. Zay Jones went to, I think, East Carolina University. We're not going to check, but if you want to, we'll just say he did. I think he did.
Yeah.
All right, so we got one Punnett square down.
Woo!
We're moving along here. Let's go Detroit Lions, first team, all AP All-Pro. That is in the top right-hand corner. I'm going to have to say Calvin Johnson surely made the AP All-Pro first team.
Calvin Johnson, let's go with that. I don't know why it keeps doing
Correct.
that to the screen.
What was the percent?
49%.
So we don't have a good percent going here, but we are 2 for 2 so far. We have 7 guesses remaining and 7 open spots. That is always a good problem.
I'm just glad you're doing the guessing, not me.
Man, this is where it's going to get a lot more difficult for me. And I know we just started, but it's already getting difficult. Let's go with the Jacksonville Jaguars first team All-Pro.
Okay.
I am going to say, I'm going to go with Jalen Ramsey.
Jalen Ramsey.
The cornerback. I think he probably made a first team All-Pro team. It's Jalen.
Aha.
I think he probably made a first team with the Jaguars. It's risky, though.
You ready? You want to go with that?
Go with it. It's correct. What percent was that?
45.
45% for Jalen Ramsey. So if you're not on video, I need an Arizona Cardinal who was a first-team All-Pro. I need an Arizona Cardinal that was also a Bengal, a Cardinal who was also a Raider, a Jaguar who was a Bengal, a Lion who was a Raider, and a Bengal who was a Lion.
I have a... Are we on the same page with the Cardinals first-team AP All-Pro? Is it who I'm thinking? Because I don't really want to say.
Who are you thinking?
I don't know. I don't want to say. I don't want to be wrong.
Just say it. Oh, it's got to be Larry Fitzgerald. It's got to be
Fitzgerald. Okay. That's.
If it's not Larry Fitzgerald,
I can't think of anybody else from. Who else can it be?
It's right. Larry Fitzgerald was the first team All-Pro for the Arizona
more people
Cardinals.
got that. 67%.
All right, we finished the AP All-Pro column, which is probably the easiest column because they were all good players.
Yeah.
Now we have to try to name players who were just shared the same team. So a Detroit Lion and a Las Vegas Raider. Oh,
Could
man.
this be Las Vegas, obviously, /
Yeah, it can be
Oakland
Oakland.
Raider.
Yeah. I like to try to think of quarterbacks because that's the position you know the most of. Matthew Stafford never played for the Raiders. Jimmy Garoppolo never played for the Lions. Derek Carr never played for the Lions. Jared Goff never played for the Raiders. See, you see my process here?
Yeah, yep.
Trust the process,
That
bro.
process of elimination.
Yeah.
You hear it here every week.
Um, let's skip Lions Raiders for now.
Okay.
Lions Bengals. No quarterback has played. Ryan Fitzpatrick never played. I like to go with guys who played for a lot of teams. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick played for a ton, but he didn't play for these two. Goodness gracious. I have a guess for Bengals Lions, but I don't like the guess. Like I'm pretty sure it's not right. You ever have those?
Yes. All the time.
Cardinals Raider. I feel like this is gettable. A Cardinal and a Raider. Now, people at home, if you're listening, you're probably like, "Oh my gosh, it's so and so. It's so easy. He was so good. How can you not get this?" I'm an idiot.
See, when you're here, when we're live on
This
YouTube,
is pressure, man.
We're live on Spotify, Apple Podcasts in audio format. We're on video.
There's probably a lot of people out there.
It's hard. We're in the spotlight right now.
I just pictured a guy.
Later, we'll get it. We'll get it later.
I just pictured a guy. Hold on.
Okay.
Bear with me here. Oh gosh. He's white.
Okay. All right. That
narrows it down a
That
lot.
narrows it down.
Okay, I have a Raider and a Cardinal.
Okay.
That was easy. People at home are definitely screaming. Chandler Jones. Brother of John Jones, fun fact. The UFC fighter.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Chandler Jones. That's probably pretty high
Chandler
percent.
Jones. 44%.
All right, we know a Lion and a Raider.
Ooh.
These are two teams that have been irrelevant for a long time. The Bengals are really stumping us, though, aren't they? We don't have a single Bengal right now. Come on, Brandon.
I can think of Bengals and I can think of Jaguars, but it's putting the two together. The ones that,
it's a disconnect, right?
because the very players that I may be thinking in my mind that contributed to one
Didn't
of these
contribute
teams
to the other.
may have not contributed or may have, and I just don't remember that.
All right, let me think of all-time Raiders players that are great. That way I don't forget somebody stupid. Randy Moss never played for the Lions. Devontae Adams never played for the Lions. I feel like it's got to be a defensive player here. Charles Woodson never played for the Lions. Justin Tuck was never a Lion. He was a Raider, though. What about all-time Lions players? Barry Sanders never played for the Raiders. Obviously, Calvin Johnson never played for the Raiders. This can't be that hard. All right, let's just go from Lions, Raiders. Bengals, Jags. Bengals, Cardinals. Bengals, Cardinals.
Uh,
I have a guess for the Cardinals Bengals, but I think it's wrong.
Okay, we gotta put something. We gotta try.
Cardinals Bengals. I know this is wrong, but just type it and we'll take the L today.
Right.
I could probably maybe figure one out, but I don't want to sit here all night.
Okay.
Jerome Simpson. He front flipped over a guy into the end zone, if you remember that clip.
No!
It was wrong. Jerome Simpson. He was a Bengal. I guess he never played for the Cardinals.
Honestly, I think the Jags Bengals. I feel like we can get that one. I know it's weird to say that, but I feel like we can get that one.
Man, this is sad. There's probably people out there. Oh gosh, I know Jags Bengals. Tyler Eifert. He was a tight end.
Wow.
Tyler Eifert. That's him.
It's amazing that you. Wow, is it? He got
What percent?
44%.
Should we try to
See,
get the rest?
I told you. I knew we could get that one. Now, I would have never guessed him, but.
Should we try to get the rest?
All right, let's see. What's one more that you think we could?
I think we could get. I think we could honestly get Raiders Lions. That seems like there's been a recent player that went to the Raiders from the Lions or vice versa. But who is it?
Raiders.
Latavius Murray, did he ever make his way to the Lions? I don't think. Reggie Bush never went to the Raiders. Roy Williams was never a Raider. I don't think. This is embarrassing. For our first grid on the channel, we're not going to be able to complete it, I don't think.
It's
unless
hard.
you just... something rises up from the ashes. Bengals Lions. There's probably something so obvious that we're just forgetting. Cardinals, Bengals. These are like some irrelevant teams. Why couldn't it be like the Patriots and the Packers?
That's what makes it harder.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna turn it in.
We're just I believe we're.
And I
going
wish you
to
could
have
like
to...
click and just see one that played for both, but you can't.
No.
Because now I'm gonna be like, who? I wonder who played.
Oh boy.
Well,
somebody screen cap this. Answer these.
You've got the quote up on the YouTube, don't you? Or is the YouTube on the top left?
Huh? No, this is it right here.
Okay, never mind. I'm crazy.
Yeah.
But Immaculate Grid is fun. The football one's pretty tough. I'm pretty cracked at the baseball one, but this is a football podcast. All right, guys. Well, we kept y'all waiting long enough. If you're at home yelling at your screen or at your phone knowing someone who played, comment down below who played where if you have it figured out, because I worked all day, came here, and I've been talking for an hour
That is
and a
tough.
half.
That is definitely tough.
It's
I mean,
my brain is fried. But man, we enjoyed talking realignment, talking NIL, high school football recruiting, just the works.
We got a lot more ahead. I mean, there's a few weeks until the college football season starts. Of course, tonight we've got the Hall of Fame game in the NFL preseason, all that good stuff. But college football is we're almost there, and we got a lot to cover.
And I tell you, I definitely will miss at least 1 week when my child is born. So
we'll figure that one out.
Think,
we'll have something for you guys.
I think we all understand that. But yeah, if you're riding with us on a unicycle, if you're riding with us in a horse-drawn carriage, if you're riding with us in a taxi, if you're riding with us in a Ford F-150, we're glad that you decided to ride with us, even if you're sitting on your couch, and we're glad you let us ride along with you. This is Ride Along Sports Live Show. I'm Zach Ainsworth. That's Brandon Taylor, and we will catch y'all next time.
See ya.